Time for an overhaul.
We're getting new reflex rear shocks, new set of braking discs and pads for the rear, a new power steering hose, new Monroe strut, quick struts, a new inner tie rod, and new output shaft seals. Okay, to get the new one back in, because it's gas pressurized, I just tied it up in a rope so that it's compressed enough so that I can slide it in here. Otherwise I'm going to have a hard time getting it in. Okay, with the shock resting in place on the lower mount, all I'll have to do is just undo this rope and allow the shock to raise itself up to the mounting point. The replacement shock is slotted on both sides, so it doesn't really have an orientation like the factory shock did. The only thing I'm going to do is when I undo this rope, is I'm going to let it rise and I'm going to grab this stud on the way up. I got to grab this as soon as it comes up or I'll have to do it over. There we go. I need a little help to get this hole lined up, but that won't be too big of a deal. One more time. Hopefully that's lined up good enough. I should just go right in. Oh yeah, that's got it. Definitely want to make sure it's going in with your hands first. Okay, replacement is just reverse removal. These shocks didn't come with any new hardware, so I'm just reusing the factory hardware and the factory lock nut. I may want to go in and loosen this when I have this sitting back at normal vehicle ride height. I may just loosen this and let that bushing self-center itself. Okay, just coming in and snugging these up a little bit. I'll probably hand tighten them. Finish hand tightening them. Now I'll just come in and hit with the wrench real quick. need to be good and snug. Okay, good and snug. All right, that's it for the shock absorber install. Okay, onto the brakes. We're going to remove this brake caliper. Carefully set it over here. We'll just rest it on the controlling arm so it's not hanging from the brake hose. And then I'm just going to pull these pads out of the way. You can see there's plenty of braking material left on these. The problem is the rotors are warped. And it seems like these brakes are seriously undersized on the Odyssey. This rear replacement rotor only has about 20,000 miles on it. And what it does is it causes the vehicle to duck walk a little bit when you're coming up to a stop. It just doesn't brake smoothly. I know it's the rear ones because the front steering wheel doesn't vibrate or juke back and forth when you get on the brakes. It stops smoothly up front. So what we're going to do is we're going to have to take the caliper mounting bracket off, and then we can pull this rotor off. And then what we're going to do is we're going to use a dial indicator, and we're going to index the new rotor on this hub. We're going to make sure the hub is clean. And we're going to try to get it within less than 3 thousandths run out. If it's got more than 3 thousandths run out from the get-go, it's probably not going to stay smooth very long. Okay, I'm going to have to use a breaker bar to get in here because my impact wrench won't fit. So I'm just going to break these loose. And the rotor should come right off. All right. Those are actually the emergency brake shoes. They fit inside the rotor. All right, I'll go grab some new parts and we'll get it back together. I'm gonna take a little lacquer thinner and wash the protective coating of oil off of the braking surfaces so we don't contaminate the pads. We'll just flush over this several times, get it off. And there's what it's taken off. We'll just keep polishing on this, get these nice and clean. Yeah, it's coming off. What you do want to check over real quick before you put the new rotor on is you want to make sure that the mounting surface on this hub is clean and free of rust, any little specks or bumps, anything that's going to cause that rotor not to sit as flat as possible when you mount it. Because you want to have as close to like 1.5 thousandths lateral run out as you can get. Because when you start approaching like 2.5 thousandths, that's too much for a new rotor. And a lot of times that problem is just how it's mounted. And I'll show you what I do here to check that after I put it on. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some lug nuts on here. I'm just going to go around and snug them up so that this rotor is sitting nice and flat. against the hub. We're just going to put this on just snug. Doing a crisscross pattern, just like if I was doing a crisscross pattern, just like if I was putting the wheels on. Just want to have it on good and firm. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a dial indicator. I'm going to try to put it maybe just an inch or so from the edge. And I'm going to bring it in here. I'm going to put a little pressure on it. And then I'm going to zero it out. Alright, that's pretty much zeroed out. Now what the idea is I'm going to rotate this rotor and see how much run out it has as it's installed right now. Alright, so that went a little below zero. We're going to go in and dial, we're going to redial this. Okay, that looks like about 1/1000, 1.5, down to 1, 0. Maybe just a tad below 0. We could zero that out one more time. What I'm trying to do is have it so that I can see mostly a positive number. That's what you're looking for. And I am probably flexing the car a little bit as I'm moving this, so I kind of have to be careful how I do that. So I'm going to try to pull straight up if I can. So we're still at about 1.5. 0, 0, 1, 1/1000ths run out, about 1.5. So we're in that 1 to 1.5, so that means I've got that mounted pretty good. Sometimes what happens is you'll have a tolerance stack where you'll have the flange on the hub may not be machined perfect, or it may have a burr on it or something that you didn't see. And then you also have something on the rotor mating surface that doesn't mate up right, and it can throw that way off. So a lot of times what you have to do is you'll have to unbolt these and just try indexing it like 180 it if it's way off. I've had to do that before, and it's usually corrected it. If you can't get it at least at 2.5 thousandths or below, you might want to consider taking another rotor out of the box and try that one, and then try the other rotor on the other side and see if it's, sometimes you'll get lucky and you get both of them to be within spec. If not, you're going to have to figure out what's not in spec. It's either going to be the hub that the rotor's mounting to, or the rotor itself has a problem. So you may actually have to go return one. So, but you definitely want to be shooting for like that, 1.5 to 2.5 thousand. 2.5 thousand should really be the absolute max. I really like to see like 1 to 1.5 like we got here. And I'll try panning in just a little more so you can actually maybe see the dial a little better while I'm doing that. Let's see if you get it so it's in the light. So I have it pretty much zeroed out, and every one of those notches is 1/1000th of an inch. That's about 1/1000. It's like about 1.5. That might be 2. So, looks like 2/1000 is the max. And that's okay, that's acceptable. Yeah, looks like we're at 2/1000 max. So I would call that a success. Okay, moving on to the brake pads. we're going to get these out of the box. There's a new pair. These have considerable more braking material left on them than the old ones did, but the old ones still had some life left in them. But I think I only got maybe 25,000 miles out of this set, and the rotors were already warped. Just kind of disappointing. So we're going to take the old brake hardware off. I don't know why you couldn't just reuse them, but there's the old ones, and then we're just going to put in new ones. Make sure I'm putting them in the same way they came out. I guess they do have an upper one and a lower one. We'll make sure we get those oriented right. Okay. We'll put that one in. Put him in first. And just like that. Should just snap right in. There we go. That should have it. Yep. Now we want to have a new one that matches this side. I think I accidentally got this side right. That still doesn't look right. I'm going to turn around. There we go. All right. If I just remember how I took this one out. Yep. Okay. That's going to go in like that. Like that. They do give you a little something to put on the pads, the new ones. A little bit of disc brake quiet. I'll probably put that on there just for good measure. Ceramic silicone brake component lubricant. Alright. If you're like me and you can't remember which pad went on which side, always look for the one that has got the circle on it, so you know that goes on the piston side. And this happens to be the one with the wear indicator. So we know that this one's going to go on this side like that. So we'll put a little bit of this disc brake quiet stuff on it. Just smear it around with the packet. Probably don't want to get this on your hands. Probably never get it off. And it doesn't take a lot of it. Just a little film. Just like that. That should be enough. We'll just take him and put him in right here. Ugh. Trying real hard not to get my fingers on it. Okay. That slid right in nicely, and then we're just going to take another new one, put a little bit of this on here. Got it on my fingers, darn it. And we'll squeeze a little bit of this out. I'm kind of going overkill with the stuff. It just takes a little dab and just smear it on. Just like that. We'll just stick him in there. Yep, that goes right in. All right, before I can put this piston back on, I'm going to have to get a socket and a C-clamp and push this piston in a little bit so that it'll go on. Usually when you got new pads, it's not going to clear. So, I'll be right back. All right, you got a 7/8 socket. I'm going to just slip it in here. Got a C-clamp. I'm just going to come in here, tighten it up. Trying to get it in as straight as I can. Oh, there we go. We're just going to squeeze this down a little bit. And just working this down. And just remember to take the socket out when you're done. This 7/8 socket, I was missing it for quite some time. And the last time I did a brake job on this car, I found it. I left it in the hole. There we go. That's mashed in good. And this should just slide right on. There we go. Well, it looks like I kind of missed it here on the brake quiet. I'm just going to take a little bit more and I just smear it on with my finger. The heck with it. There we go. We'll slide it on now. There. I just need to grab my little brake bolts, stick them in. Get the rest of those in. Here's my other brake bolt. There we go. Slide it in. There we go. One thing I need to do with these is I take a 17mm wrench and I hold this in place. And I take a 12mm socket with a 3/8 drive and just snug them up really good. You don't have to be overkill with it, but you do want them to be tight enough so they don't come loose. Come in here. There, good and snug. That's all it needs. So there we go. Got the rotors on, got the brake caliper back on, got our new shock on. This side's done. I'm going to repeat the other side, and then we'll take it out for a road test. Okay, we ran into a problem with this one. We're on the passenger side, and we're almost 4.5 thousandths run out. It's like 5 thousandths there. Trying to get it to go back to 0. Go back here. Let's re-zero it. Yeah, we're a little over 4 thousandths. There's back to 0. The car is moving just a little bit because I don't have the dial indicator attached to the lower control arm. This magnet isn't strong enough, so I am slightly moving the car on the jack stand a little bit, but you just take your hand off as you do it. But that's way out. That's not acceptable. So there's a tolerance stack there probably. So what I'm going to have to do is dismount this rotor, and I'm going to 180 it and see if I can at least get it to half that. If it's at least 2 thousandths, 2.5 max, I think I'm good to go. So we're gonna mark this one. Oops, my hand off of the lens. I'm just gonna mark a spot so I know when I'm 180ing it. There we go. We got our spot mark there. So I'm going to dismount the disc and spin it around, and then we'll set it up and try it again. Okay, I'll show you what I did. I 180'd it as close as I can get to 180. Retorqued the lugs down, and I got the dial indicator zeroed in. I'll show you where we're at. Now keep in mind the car's going to move on me just a little bit, so I'm going to turn and stop and turn and stop, and it does return to the same spot. So we're at 0. There's 1/1000 out. 2.5, 3, and it just goes just a tad over 3, like 3 1/4. So I'm going to try moving it over one more clock. I'm not going to 180 it. I'm just going to move it one row forward and see if I can get another thousandths out of it. I can live with 3/1000. I'm not thrilled with it, but it'd be nice to see it at 2.5 max. I'm about 1/2 thousandths off from being happy with it. Okay, you can see I kind of moved it just a little over from where it was before. And let's see how we're doing with it. Oh no, I can't find my, where's our dial? There we go. Hopefully you can see that really good. I got it zeroed, and let's go through it now. 1/1000, 2/1000. It looks like that's it. It's got 2/1000 run out like the other side does. Took 3 tries to get it, but there you go. So 2/1000. So we went from 5/1000 run out to 2/1000 run out. I can guarantee you at 5/1000 run out, you would have felt that before these pads were even bedded in. So we got it less than half of what the initial run out was just by rotating this around a couple of times on the hub to find a spot that it liked. And basically what it is it's a tolerance stack. You've got the hub has got a little bit of run out, and then you've got the rotor mounting surface has a little bit of run out, and there was a tolerance stack. So probably both of them were 2 to 2.5 thousandths out of whack, which is probably within the build tolerance. But then when you have them stacked in the same spot, then it doubles it, and then it's not acceptable. So playing around with it does make a difference. And I don't know if you would get this kind of care if you took it into a brake shop or not. They probably would check it, but I'm going to call that a success, and I'm going to finish putting it back together. Hey, thanks for watching. Hit like and subscribe. Part 2 coming up is going to show you how to do the front struts and output shaft seals.